Have you ever looked at your parents' hands? I mean, really looked at them? There's a story etched into every line, every callus, every scar. This is a story about a girl who learned to read the one her father wrote. For as long as she could remember, she had hated her father's hands. They were a roadmap of hardship, rough and calloused, with deep cracks running through the knuckles like dry riverbeds. The skin was coarse like sandpaper, and his nails were often chipped and stained with grease or dirt from his work. When he'd try to pat her head or hold her hand, she'd instinctively flinch. His touch felt foreign, harsh. It wasn't like her mother's hands, which were always soft and smooth, smelling faintly of lotion. Her father was a man of few words. He worked long, grueling hours at a local factory, coming home late each night, weary to the bone. Dinner conversations were usually one-sided, with her mother and her chattering away while he ate in silence, his exhaustion a heavy blanket in the room. He never complained, never talked much about his day. His presence was just a quiet, steady fact of their lives, like the old clock ticking on the wall. As a child, she couldn't understand the distance between them. She saw her friends' fathers playing catch in the yard, building elaborate model airplanes or telling bedtime stories with booming, cheerful voices. Her father did none of those things. His form of affection was quiet and practical. He'd make sure her bike tires were always full of air, or that the flickering light in her bedroom was fixed before she even had to ask. But she yearned for something more, something softer. She craved the kind of open, easy love she read about in books, not this silent, utilitarian version. Her resentment grew with age. In her teenage years, it sharpened into a quiet embarrassment. She'd hide his work boots when her friends came over, ashamed of the scuffs and the caked-on mud. When he'd pick her up from school in his old, rattling truck, she'd ask him to park a block away so no one would see. His rough hands became a symbol of everything she felt separated them, a symbol of a life she was desperate to escape. She dreamed of a world of smooth surfaces, of clean hands and easy smiles, a world far away from the grit and grime of her father's existence. She excelled in school, pouring all her energy into her studies. It was her ticket out, her way to build a different life. Her father never said much about her good grades, but he'd leave a new pen on her desk or a book she'd mentioned wanting, his silent form of encouragement. She accepted these gifts without much thought, seeing them as simple transactions, not expressions of love. The turning point came during a cold winter evening, the week before she was set to leave for college. The house was quiet. She had been up late, packing her bags, a nervous excitement fluttering in her chest. She was finally getting away, finally starting her own life. She tiptoed past her parents' bedroom on her way to the kitchen for a glass of water. Their door was slightly ajar, and a sliver of light cut across the dark hallway. She heard a low whisper and paused, her curiosity piqued. It was her father's voice, raspy with sleep. He was talking to her mother. "Are her new dorm blankets warm enough?" he asked. "The winters are colder there." Her mother's soft reply was muffled, but then her father spoke again, and his words struck her with the force of a physical blow. He let out a long, weary sigh. "I was just looking at my hands today," he murmured. "They're getting worse, but it's okay." There was a pause, and then he said the words that would change everything for her. "These hands hurt, so hers never have to." The glass she was holding slipped from her grasp, but she caught it just before it hit the floor. Her heart was pounding in her ears. She stood frozen in the hallway, the cool wood floor beneath her bare feet suddenly feeling like ice. His words echoed in her mind over and over. "These hands hurt, so hers never have to." Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The years of silence, the gruff exterior, the calloused hands, it all made a terrible, beautiful sense. His roughness wasn't a lack of love, it was the very evidence of it. Every callus was a worry smoothed over for her. Every crack was a hardship he had shouldered so she wouldn't have to. His hands weren't dirty because he was careless. They were dirty because he was building her a clean future. The walls she had so carefully constructed around her heart crumbled. Tears streamed down her face, hot and silent. She wasn't crying from sadness, but from a profound, overwhelming wave of understanding and regret. All those years she had been so wrong. She had seen his sacrifice as a source of shame, when it had been her shield all along. She slowly pushed the bedroom door open. Her father was sitting on the edge of the bed, his back to her, rubbing his hands together as if to soothe an old, familiar ache. Her mother was already asleep. He didn't seem to notice her at first. She walked over and knelt before him, her movements clumsy with emotion. She reached out and took his hands in hers. They felt just as she remembered, rough, scarred, and strong. But this time she didn't flinch. This time she held on tight. He looked down at her, his eyes wide with surprise. He saw the tears on her face and his expression softened with concern. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice thick with worry. She couldn't speak. She just shook her head, bringing his hands to her cheek. She pressed his rough palm against her skin, feeling the coarse texture not as an imperfection, but as a testament to his love. She kissed his knuckles, each one a monument to his quiet devotion. For the first time she saw his hands not for what they were, but for what they had done. They had fixed her toys, paid for her books, built her future. They had worked and ached and bled so that her own hands could remain soft, free to hold a pen, to turn the pages of a book, to reach for her dreams. In that quiet moment, kneeling on the floor of her childhood home, she finally understood. Love isn't always soft and polished. It isn't always spoken in pretty words or grand gestures. Sometimes love is the grit under your fingernails at the end of a long day. Sometimes it's the silent ache in your bones. Sometimes the most profound love is simply sacrifice disguised as scars. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the beauty and complexity of human connection. We'd love to hear your own stories about the quiet sacrifices you've witnessed in your life, so please share them in the comments below. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.